Well, I'll tell you what. We're still waiting for a fluffy sheep, aka Bright, to stop in. But why don't we start slipping into things here? And we'll do a little bit of character review from the viewpoints of each of Yun's, and we'll get going in the direction that you wish to go in. When we did leave off, we had some revelations. There was some homework being done. You were left with some decisions as the party had split and done research. In fact, we left off with you all at a bar, or on your way, or
Most of us.
most of you. That's true. Noralai is being a good girl back in the suite, the penthouse suite,
And then there's
drinking
silly.
very expensive small
Silly,
bottles of
silly.
water.
See how long that lasts.
Pardon. All right.
You
Well,
know, I
let's.
just get carded at the bar, so.
To be
Why
fair,
don't we?
I'd card you if you walked in my shop.
Why don't we begin with Jade, who was actually the first one at Trine, which is the name of the bar, and you were a very busy person last session. That has led now to you being treated to shots by the workers of the Flowerfield Mansion, kind of the groundskeeping crew. So, Jade, or if you want me to reference you as someone else, let me know. But go ahead and lay it on us.
Okay, so this entirely depends on which individual you're talking about. So let's cycle through the three. Jade in her normal bits was looking about to end up trying to find some way to end up gathering information. The fact of the matter is that many are looking into the plant threats, the Fae threat, the thing that shouldn't be not part of the plan, not part of the plan. So she needed to take more drastic action. The card she didn't want to play, she really, really didn't want to play. And so now she has, well, she's taken on a new role and an old role. She's brought herself more into the noblesse, approaching the orchid stead. She ended up taking the time to end up gain hold of the butler to end up speaking with the lord of the manor. She ended up reintroducing herself, though. She introduced herself as Jade Stillwaters, a name that would be known to particular nobles, specifically due to her family's support and aid, knowing heavily that they end up tending to lead towards law enforcement and personal guard of particular families that may be of note, especially when it comes down to the orchids. Confused, naturally, the butler ended up wanting to question this, but he did end up noticing that Jade ended up having a very different demeanor. Where last time she was rampaging as a unicorn in the middle of a funeral,
Yes.
and a raving mad woman who constantly needed to be silenced, if anything. She watched and waited. But now, she ended up taking the moment to end up going in. While waiting in the guest quarters for any form of, well, discussion, it was the Lady Orchid who ended up approaching. Reminded of the revelation that Lady Orchid may in fact share some of Jade's traits, more specifically, that she had made a pact. She had made sure to end up reaching out to Shin Roth. And now they speaks on how her husband, while loving Tiba, is more concerned with his legacy than anything else, and seems to wish for his return more on that bearing more than anything else. She has been and dreads the moment when she realizes once he is no longer part of the great vision that Jade is part of, that she must turn on him, potentially ending him and her own children. Jade made the full promise that should this come to pass, Jade would be the one to personally do the deed. Though the wife will end up turning, Jade will end up enforcing it. One way or another, what must come to pass will come to pass, care not the cost. Afterwards, she was reminded of the seed, a pellet of sort. I believe it was defined as Pharaoh bind seed.
Yes.
Who, when in contact with Fae, can, well, cause horrible disruption. And Jade keeps that seed with her, the one she got from the garden, the one that was thrown at Celine, who she nimbly dodged despite her armor, promising that Lord Orchid would end up becoming a real monster because he is a man with power and intent, the will to use it. Jade continued. She left to end up investigating more, trying to blend in as she took the guise of a particular tiefling. You see, he was more of a dark worker. He ended up taking the time to end up enjoying himself, who works very hard, very studiously. You oftentimes silent, but he ends up making sure to end up going by. I believe the name he went under was Rolf. Rolf has been a dutiful worker, as he ends up making sure to end up being, well, let's just say, one of the boys. So as he ends up going through, he's taking note. He's not sure why. Maybe it's because of that promise of fat loot. If he were to end up getting a hell of a payday, if he got some dirt, some real dirt on the orchids. So he ended up playing along. But the fact of the matter is as he was scoping out for riches, treasures, and other such things, well, he seemed to have been swept away by the rest of the work crew, going out for a day on the or night in this case. And the shots began to rain. The alcohol was poured, and surely he had to end up getting his, because this is his payday. This is when he ends up getting to end up drinking for free, and he gets to be brought in as one of the boys, who might end up getting a little bit closer as he ends up finding secrets to the individuals, and more specifically, Lady and Lord Orchid and the family. However, he seems blissfully unaware there's a ticking time bomb inside. The thing that really is Jade, broken and wretched, is just lurking below the surface, and the alcohol is starting to wear. And tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Well then, we will see what comes of that here very soon, as time continues to press ever onward, as it is wont to do. Let's springboard off of that then. Let's go over to Celine, or are you channeling Jack right now?
No. Because it was not clear what I did the last time that I was actually playing, I would have gone back to the suite with Norelai, but unlike Norelai, who is simply drinking water, I would be drinking alcohol. Quite a large amount of alcohol. Pacing around with a book in my hands. Not so much distraught as thinking very, very hard.
Okay. Well then, you are welcome to do so, and I will tell you that the Tumbled Wench is more than willing to send small overpriced bottles of alcohol up to your room on demand. So,
well, if Riffle is still paying for the room and for the tab, he can pay for these.
That there has been no indication that he has ceased to do so.
He still finds this useful. The heretic still finds this useful.
Then actually, I'll skip over Mordecai to go over to the other one who's staying up in the suite. So we have Norelai here, who's sipping on some hot cocoa, it seems. Tea,
Very
all right.
sugary.
And you're hanging out with Yori and Herbert,
Yep.
the immature Sentry Vine, who is very actively tracking Celine as she paces back and forth, just sort of turning in the pot and kind of giving a hiss every now and again as Celine is tracking along. So Norlai, what's going on with you?
Well, we went to the library and we read books. That was fun. Although we had to pay for things. Didn't have any money. But we won't talk about that. And well, everyone's like, "Oh, it's a bad idea to go back to the hotel room. Let's go to some shady place." And like, I can't. I couldn't afford my library fee, so I'm just gonna stay here because it's paid for.
Alrighty.
That is fair. That is fair enough, and that's actually probably why Celine went along with Norlai, because if the others are really worried about about someone getting attacked in the room, well then better for her to not be alone.
And now we will come over to Mordecai, who has eventually found his way into Trine, and well, I'll let you talk about recent events from Mordecai's point of view.
Well, the information we got at the library regarding vampires was a little bit disturbing, in that finding out that prior to Mesomasca being founded as a place of residence, there had been residents here already in the garb of the old Shadowhar Empire, and that's kind of disturbing. But yeah, trying to just wrap my head around that and see if there's anything to finding Tibba, if he's still alive. Hopefully he is. And thinking on things leading up to going into the bar, it is entirely possible that there's something Tibba's involved in some way regarding the vampires, and they either have him alive, or they've turned him, or he's dead. So yeah, I'm trying to find Lucifer so that that if for whatever reason, whatever senses I may have now don't bear fruit, that maybe I can force that. And see if I can track them down, at least figure out someone who might have information.
Now, wild magic is wild magic, but you did try and contact Tibba with ascending, and you thought you heard his voice or echoes or something. Now, that's not definitive proof, really, to confirm one of your three possibilities, but you did at least hear his voice, and so I'm
hoping that's a sign, because if it is a sign, then maybe there's hope. But Bright seems to think that there's not hope. But I need to talk to her about wild magic. She has a book on it, so I need to investigate that a little bit more. So getting into this bar, finding some Lucifer as fast as possible, and getting out of there so I can go talk to her.
Okay. And I will fill in for Fluffy Sheep here, aka Bright, as Bright is not here, but Bright did use disguise self in order to appear as a kind of as a bit more rough and tumble halfling male, if I recall correctly, in order to try and fit in with the scene a little bit more. Right. So Bright is here. It's just that Bright is not here.
Welcome to my world.
I'm kind of under the assumption she didn't tell me.
No, I think this would have been her own decision, because she's doing a little investigating on her own.
Right.
All right, so we will let's now go into the game. Mordecai, you were guided to Trine, as it is a local bar. It's not touristy to Flowerfield. This is where a lot of the laborers, especially tieflings, who do make up a fair, like a majority of the population of Flowerfield here. This is where many of them choose to drink, dance, sing, carouse, do exactly what you're seeing happen on Jade's screen here. And in fact, there is quite a rowdy table of... pardon me. There is quite a rowdy table of tieflings who are singing, and they're drinking. They're dressed in like very dirty overalls. Looks like they were laboring, doing some dirty work. But of course, I mean, there's tiefling bartenders. There's there's people just casually all over the place. So you're here with the specific mission to try and find Luciferase, which for any of those in the audience who aren't aware of this substance that exists in the game, this is a drug that seemingly only affects tieflings, and it interacts with their senses and seems to open them up in interesting ways, and really just sort of gives you this awareness high of sight and sound, and it just sets everything going inside a tiefling body.
But it'll make you go blind.
And yes, as Noralai's big brother told her, if you do Luciferase too much, it'll make you go blind. I believe that in our prior session, Noralai had this discussion and passed along this information to Mordecai as well. But you know what? Mordecai's a rock star and is clearly invincible. I've had trouble actually killing him, so I don't know. We'll see if the Luciferase can do it.
Don't say it like that, Jesus.
All right, so Mordecai, you weren't really given the name of someone who can hook you up with this stuff, but there's certainly plenty of people who might fit the bill. Where would you like to go? You have a rowdy group of laborers. You have a bartender who is also serving some other tieflings. You know, some might be happy, some might be, you know, kind of at the bottom of their cups. You have people everywhere. Just even, you know, there's dark corners that exist here. People sitting at, you know, at tables in dark corners. Where are you approaching, or who are you approaching?
I'm going to be approaching the bar at first.
Okay.
And just kind of sit there for a moment after ordering a drink and kind of observe for a moment. And if I don't really see anyone, I don't really have the best perception, but if I don't see anyone who's maybe doing some shady deals, then I will ask the bartender coyly, where can a man like me find a good time?
Sure. We have behind the bar a rather rusty-skinned tiefling with very bright orange eyes, and horns that give a little bit of a swoop. They come up and then dip down and move back. So like it would be almost like a horn equivalent of like very like kind of slick back hair. And there's that as well. Very rich dark hair underneath it. Glances over. Well, that depends. What kind of a good time are you looking for? Are we looking for good food and drink? Are we looking for pleasures of the flesh? Or are you looking to have your mind stimulated with a good read?
Stimulation.
Ah, stimulation. Well, there's a library in town. Did you know?
I've been there.
No, well. I'm impressed. That's not exactly a destination that many may claim to have been to who come here.
I'm a little bit more learned. I enjoy a good book.
And music as well?
Of course.
Well, we'll be having some
Performing
music
myself.
playing a little bit later this evening. You're welcome to stick around for that.
Anything that could maybe heighten the experience.
Let's see. I want you to filter this through something as you're making this wink wink nudge nudge. How would you like to test your ability to subtly convey your desire?
Well, I'm being coy, so I would imagine that's deception.
All right, deception will work. I mean, several different skills could work, and I'll just flavor the response depending on how you're employing this. So, go ahead and
Oof.
okay. So with an 8, you're going up to the bar, and
It's the chicken.
it's well that I mean that's probably even the chicken winking also.
Yes.
He wants to
Yes.
kill that bird, but he can't because it's stuck to his face.
I can tell that you're definitely a man of stimulation, else that wouldn't have happened. Oh, the effects of this area never cease to amuse me. You've been here for some time and you think you've seen it all, and a man walks in with a beard of a chicken.
Such is my life, I suppose.
I'll tell you what. I can't turn down a pretty face like that. And while I don't think I can help you with what you seek, as I really only sell things that might warble your senses, I can tell you that there might be someone over there that can help you out.
I look in the direction. Like, subtly.
And he gives a little bit of a hand gesture of this would be more along the lines of one tiefling to another, describing some physical aspects of another tiefling whom you're referencing. I mean, there's tieflings around, so they might catch it as well, but he is at least trying to be discreet about it. And so
Right.
he's indicating, so he's doing things like indicating like the horn curve and, some eye color by like pointing to one thing and something else to the eye, kind of doing some hand signals here.
Sure.
And I mean, you're not currently inebriated. You're also a very social person. I'm not going to need a roll for this, as he is giving you a fairly good description of someone whom he believes can assist you. And
Thank you.
you are guided not to the darkest corner, or not to the darkest table in the darkest corner, but definitely against a wall, and is sitting with a couple other people.
Does it look like they're in a mid-conversation?
Yes. In fact, go ahead and for this, you can make a perception, as you're able to identify the person whom that was told to you, but this is to maybe pick up on what you're seeing or hearing from the table. 15. Very good. Okay. The conversation seems to be one on many, with the tiefling in question being the one who is addressed by several others, or is addressing several others, as kind of a social focal point. And there are 2 tieflings and there are 2 humans that are sitting across from him with their backs to you. but you can see the face of the tiefling referral.
Okay. I'll make a mental note of them and just to ask the bartender for a whiskey in wait. And wait until maybe the table's cleared out a little bit.
Okay. So you order a whiskey here. You want top shelf, or what are we going for here?
Something nice.
Okay. We can go 4 silver for a nice shot of whiskey.
4 silver it is.
Okay. Pardon. I personally wish I could get into the subtleties of oak-aged whiskey and smoky flavors and such. Unfortunately, that is out of my purview as a DM. But I will tell you that you are getting definitely a nice 4 silver shot of whiskey. And bear in mind that that's 2 days like income of a laborer for one shot here. So I'll put it in a scale like that. This is something that, this one shot may not necessarily get you hammered, but it definitely goes down smooth, has an excellent mouthfeel, bouquet. I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, and you can fill in the blanks. I'd have to, I guess, defer to Diadems, or I don't think Mr. Plunderloot is here, but they can be the background RP. They can role play your shot of whiskey and describe how they. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, as you are, you're there, you're waiting, and you're waiting. Your patience is going to pay off, as after about 10 minutes, as the band is getting ready, is setting up on stage, the 2 humans get up and leave. And it's a male and a female, although both appear kind of similar, as both of them have rather like long, or at least shoulder length blonde hair. The man is very strapping and doesn't mind showing it off. He does have a tattoo on him, and is accompanied by a woman who is actually dressed more moderately than he. Though she also seems to bear a tattoo as well. And they get up and just make their way out of Trine, the bar. And the remaining 2 tieflings kind of scoot together, and their postures and their gesticulations indicate that there's a bit of a relaxed atmosphere at the table. They're not sitting up and very formal anymore. They're kind of like leaning back and, kind of making more loosey-goosey hand gestures with each other. And this leader tiefling is gazing over at the stage and is seemingly allowing himself to be in a little bit more relaxed posture, and taking a drink as well, probably in expectation of the music to come.
I am gonna order a beer for myself and for the other gentleman, and kind of slowly walk up.
Okay. So it'll be a beer, 2 copper a mug for decent beer. They don't serve low. That's as cheap as it'll get. You can go more expensive if you want, but like a beer would be 2 copper a mug.
Okay. Yeah, and then I would walk over to the individual that was pointed out.
Okay. As you approach, the 2 tieflings who are friends, guards, whatever, do notice you and kind of like tap each other. They both look over, or they both look up, look at the person who's watching the band, and he gives kind of a dismissive gesture. They don't get up and leave, but they do sit off to the sides and allow a chair in front of him for you. As you are walking over with your 2 frosty mugs here. We'll say the bartender is very good. Probably knows the whatever the ice cantrip is, so you do get actually a nice frosty mug. Although he's a tiefling, don't put it past him to no flare bartending either. Hey, you want to see something?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you want to see something cool? You buy like 20 shots, and he says, "All right, hit me with a gold piece," and you throw it, and in reaction to being hit by a gold piece, he casts Hellish Rebuke and ignites all the shots on the bar, and everyone goes, "Wah!" There you go.
I do like that little touch. Like, that's the thing that I like. Just a quick out of character thing. It's a thing that I like to incorporate into my games as well. Magical bartending. Because it gives a depth to the world and to the mundane things of the world that it seems fantastical, but is it so far out of the realm of possibility outside of the fact that magic is being used?
And especially on the cantrip level, but that's workshop stuff. We'll get to. But I do agree with you, lethality. Having it's a good indicator of where magic exists in your world as you're playing. What's the bar? What's the threshold and whatnot. All right, so Mordecai, you're walking over. You have your two frosty mugs. There's a hellish rebuke igniting shots behind you at the bar, and everyone going whoa. In fact, we'll even say, Jade, for you and your crew, these shots were for you and your crew.
The bartender buys a round of flaming shots for the party.
Oh, all right. So we actually just had a fickle god here buy a round of shots for the party. So this flare bartending is now touched by a fickle god, and so Jade maybe you'll have a little bit of extra spice in your rum, so to speak. And Mordecai, while you were not a part of the flaming shots, we are going to say that due to the sudden surge in business, someone was buying the good stuff. And so you can get your copper back for the beers, and you are bringing over 2 frosty mugs of the best beer that the house has. And so we will we'll sort of pick back up now, and where you had it was a good beer, good cold beer. Your perhaps dealer, your dealer's eyes widen as he takes a look at what you're presenting in your hands to him, and with a rather wry smile and a golden tooth that's being shown. Oh, the good stuff. And why is it that you're treating me?
I understand that you know a little bit about how a person can find a good time.
Of course. That just depends on what kind of a good time you're seeking.
Well, I've bought you a drink. May I sit?
You bought me a drink, but if I'm offering you a good time, it would be from one of my companions on either side of you. Or both. You brought the good stuff. Or are you not seeking that?
Maybe not that kind of a good time. I hear there's music to be played later tonight, and I simply just want to take it all in.
Ah. Well then, you have a seat and you're welcome. And especially if you're giving a gift like this, as well as perhaps some business. I suppose that you might be looking to really understand the music. To not just hear it, but to taste the music. To see it through your senses, your skin.
Would.
Ah. And his golden fang gives a bit of a glint as he scans you up and down. I understand. I do have to ask, though. I can provide this to you. But you seem like a clean fellow. Are you sure this is what you want?
Yes. I've had a bit of a rough 2 weeks.
I did my duty and I asked. You replied. And as far as I know, or at least care to know, you're making the decision for yourself. And who am I to deny a man a good time? Now, I won't undercut you in front of two of my friends here, but I will allow each of them to work with you on a price.
Fair enough.
Are you seeking this before the music starts? If so, it's going to begin shortly. Or would you like to experience it as it is normally presented and discuss business afterwards?
Discuss business after.
Ah. Very well. Well then, cheers to you, my friend. And whom am I addressing? And offers you a clang.
My name is Mordecai.
Mordecai. Ah, ooh, those old world names give me the shivers.
Affige God strikes the tieflings with a powerful charm. There is no fee for the entertainment.
You are blessed once again by a fickle god. As the tieflings are taking away any sort of cover charge for the music. Although I didn't offer one initially, but what we're going to do is Mordecai, you being especially sensitive to music and song, and really I'll extend this to Mordecai and to Jade. If you are down your inspiration, you may refill it as you are especially inspired by this performance in either of your states here. Mordecai in particular, make a performance check. 15. Okay. The music's playing, and, you're here, you're having a good time. Maybe you're, singing, or I don't know if you're singing along. Some of the songs might be new to you. But you're grooving, like you're really able to get into it. You're giving out this vibe, that you are like, you're a man of music, and you're a man who lets the sound, influence his passion, and really reflect who he is. And so this is going to enhance your favor with this patron. He has not offered you a name, but he is regarding you in a very friendly manner. You brought him very good beer, and you are also here, and you're putting out a good mood, and you're going along with the music, and he looks between the band and you as you're kind of like there, you're kind of tapping along or singing if you got the hook, and so you can sing that or the chorus of the song kind of a thing.
Right.
And so if there are interactions with this other person, he will be viewing you favorably. Now let me jump tables while you're over here rocking out with your patron and his two friends, quote unquote, to the music. Jade, your table was brought a tray of we can come up with some kind of a fun cocktail name for it.
We don't need to. I think there's already a real world one that's actually quite appropriate.
Okay.
Prairie Fire.
Prairie Fire. Oh, yeah. I mean, Flowerfield is on a prairie. Pardon. I don't know what goes into it, but it sounds like fire is a part of it. So sure, we'll say that you were served a tray of prairie fires, and nothing beats that lingering bit of like brimstone smell as you take the shot, because anyone could just set alcohol on fire. That's pleb tier bartending, but to set it on fire with hellish magic, and that bit of sulfur just adds to the taste. That is that extra mile that you get from service, especially because I think that bartender can only do that about once per hour, so it's kind of limited. Or is it even once per day that you get hellish rebuke? Once a day, yeah. So there you go. You're paying for his service. So you got it there. So all of the okay, there, that works. I guess I should point over here on this template because chat's across the way. Ooh, pardon. So you all raise a shot glass, and give an infernal cheer to whatever you want to cheer. Jade, like everyone's gonna go around in an infernal. Do you speak infernal?
Nope.
Okay.
But because I want to creep them out just a little bit, we're gonna end up doing it in deep speech.
Deep speech. Okay.
Oh boy.
Sure. So they're going around, and infernal. They're cheering something. It comes around to you, and what is your cheer? One of the other people at the table, actually kind of gives you a look, and in deep speech, not the best, but that's, I haven't heard that in a while. Cheers. And so everyone throws it back. You get that that heat coming off your tongue.
It tastes so good.
It'll have to. I mean, if we're talking tieflings and hot sauce, I mean, we're probably in habanero and greater. Like we might be tickling.
We're Carolina Reaper. Right
Carolina
now.
Reaper, ghost peppers. Apparently, all the spices that have death somehow involved in the name. Heck, even BB3's had one a year or so ago. It's called Scorpion Rum or something like that, and it was like
had that. That is beautiful.
They served vanilla ice cream beside it because it was so hot. But yeah, it was like it's probably what happens if a scorpion stings your tongue. I believe it. All right. So anyway, you're getting hot sauce on this caliber. Now the tieflings here are just like, oh, this is good. I can feel the tingle. Now Jade, you're used to just kind of eating bugs, not even like baked, like just sort of raw. Jade, I would really appreciate a Constitution saving throw.
Go on, Jade the Small, make your con save. Oh.
5 or a 4? Well, I'll be generous and give you the 5.
To be fair, Rolf's the new guy, and he's probably been slamming them back pretty hard.
So yeah, you'll get the advantage. You'll get the 5. Don't worry.
Oh no! Give me the 4. Why not? What's the difference?
The disadvantage because you can't feel your tongue anymore. Probably. All right.
I can't feel my eyeballs.
All right. So
that's what
Jade,
she says too. Or that's what Rolf says.
This.
I can't feel my eyeballs.
Well, they probably feel like they're. They probably do feel like they are. They're melting here. By the way, you might have a fickle god.
The bartender has a sudden spark of inspiration from a fickle god. He walk into the back room and grab a special jar, labeled as the DM pleases, and offers something substantially hotter, specifically to Jade. Something stronger than a ghost pepper.
Oh my.
Oh, we got a raid.
Also a raid.
Oh, and Katie Sue's gonna raid us too.
People.
We have a fickle god, who is Memory Lab says being drunk is like being poisoned in the game, just as a reference. No, I understand. So we have a couple things going on here. So you have a Jade. Your shot. Look, you're the FNG. I'll leave it abbreviated to that if you know what FNG means. All right, you're the FNG of the groundskeeper crew. You got the special shot. This one was apparently mixed by the finger of a fickle god itself. Do you still have a spell slot available in your clairvoyance tier?
Yes.
Would you mind spending that for me?
Well, you gotta remember, I don't have tiers.
Yeah, just spell slots.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
But yes,
Warlock.
I will spend that.
Thank you.
My eyes. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead and pop your spell. I want to make sure I'm reading the effects in the chat here as I'm crafting what is going to be occurring. Let's see. Within range, and the range is in a location familiar to you or in an obvious location that's unfamiliar. All right. So Jade, you tell me what location would be on your mind in this moment that you're cheerful and you're taking this shot.
Okay. Now, I don't mean to be splitting hairs here, but are you asking Jade or are you asking Romp?
Oh, and Exotic Butts, by the way, thank you for being the patron, the patron fickle god here, and adding a little bit of spice to our conversation. And also, thank you for that follow. And Katie Sue and Doomfish, thank you for the raid. Doomfish, you just came in here. I guess to be consistent with how we've been playing it, when you were playing as Tiba, you didn't know you had magic, and magic still kind of happened. So you cast as the persona you're wearing. So go ahead and what would be on your mind?
For all my new adopted children.
Rolf initially came here to see if he can get the good stuff on the wonderful Orchid family. So that's still on the back of his mind. He's still listening and all this to individuals here trying to educate, some information. That's what initially brought Rolf here. But he's currently still trying to keep his mind on work, even though he's off duty. So Rolf is most certainly pick a place in the manor. Pick a place. Go ahead.
Okay. So we are going to be having a couple effects happening at the same time. You take this shot of like this, whatever this super max tiefling ghost pepper is, and you say you can't feel your eyes, and in fact, one of your eyes, the one specifically that has that kind of burn mark going to it, as well as your ear, that eye kind of gets watery and plops out of your skull. Now, there's no blood, there's no pain. And everyone at the table is just sort of looking like you just lost a glass eye. Because that's kind of what it appears to be. I mean, a very realistic one.
Did it land in my mug?
Yes.
Cheers!
And with this, I will say that due to the circumstances of that boiling water tendril chase that we had, and for any of you who are new to the channel, yes, I did say he was chasing down a tendril of boiling water through the city. Your clairvoyance focus is going to be your eye or your ear. And whichever method you use clairvoyance, that part of you is going to fall off of your face, and you are going to see or hear through that as you're holding it as part of your magic. But right now, but right now, yes, we have the olive for the martini that's kind of swirling around inside of inside of our dear worker. Now there is going to be some wild magic that occurs. So let me bring up the classes and sorcerer. As you just sort of accidentally a spell.
Look, as far as Rolf's concerned, he hasn't done anything yet. So long as there's no obvious way that it's him, it's like, alright, I'm part of the performance.
Okay. Well, Rolf, I mean, for what it means to you, for the next minute, all your spells with a casting time of 1 action have a casting time of 1 bonus action.
For how long?
1 minute.
Nothing happens as far as he's concerned. We are still drinking.
So you have some kind of like quickening energy traveling through your body right now. As you are, as you're swirling your own eye in your mouth, and everyone's cheering. It's like, oh, I didn't know you had a glass eye. You've been, and just you've been working so well. I didn't know you were half blind. And then it sounds like, yeah, but look at how he worked. He's certainly not half-assed. Ha ha ha. Your vision races over the town of Flowerfield, and your vision is hovering above the nighttime, in some patches, a literal glow of the flowers in the field in which you were working. And you can see. Tell you what. Why don't you make a perception in this state?
I am spending my inspiration.
Sure. Okay. So 21 it is. You see Ripple walking through the garden alone as he's just sort of observing, looking around. He keeps his hands clasped behind his back. Every once in a while he'll reach out and he'll like touch a flower very, like affectionately. He'll lean down and smell it. But he seems to be on an evening stroll through the garden and just doing as he pleases.
Now, when you say affectionate, no, all right. So, morning stroll or evening stroll.
Yeah, he's not giving elven kisses to the roses or anything. So,
no worries, no worries.
Okay.
But if I understand this correctly, this is specifically alone in the garden right now. Why does my eye taste like whiskey?
Are you asking your friends this, or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Keep in mind, Rolf is freaking hammered. I'm pretty sure he's been here for probably a better half of 2 hours before Mordecai even showed up. And I've been to these situations. They're not kind to the FNG.
Well, they're going to give you some banter and some rather earthy explanations for things. But unless you switch between hearing and vision, your magical sensor is seeing Ripple taking an evening stroll through the flowers.
Does he appear to be talking or perversely listening, or is it just
Nothing visually, no.
You want to see something cool?
Yeah! What do you got? Your eye already fell out after taking that shot.
Grabs the shot of the person next to him, and the ear falls off. As you
Yeah, your eye socket probably tingles with remaining hot sauce and alcohol. It's just sort of, as it makes contact with your nerve endings against your brain again.
Flop.
And your ear falls off. And everyone at the table's like, whoa! Yeah, they go over to the bartender. This is good stuff. This is a face melter.
I've been falling apart for most of my life. And what am I hearing? What am I hearing? I understand I'm able to keep conversation, but I still do hear the garden.
You are hearing him whistle a tune. So he is, it's not quite like cheerful, zippity doo dah zippity day. It has a cadence. It seemingly is important. He can whistle it very well, and it's bringing him some kind of something. He's engaging in it. It does have a little bit of repetition to it, so it's not a complex song.
Am I familiar with the tune?
Let's see. Make a religion roll. With a 14, unfortunately not a 23, but you know what, a 14, you're not familiar with it, no, but given its cadence, given it doesn't sound folksy, it does sound like it might be some kind of hymns are rather simple so that people can follow along and they can sing along, different chanting and the like. He's including a little bit of humming here and there. So this sounds like maybe some kind of a hymn or a ritualistic song that he's whistling and humming as he's going through the garden.
Ooh, that makes me wonder. I'm just double checking something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I remember there was a slight technicality, but no, you can't detect thoughts through a clairvoyance. Just because it doesn't count as a point of casting. Ah, well. But that being said, Rolf will continue with this wonderful little party trick. As he continues to end up buying shots, listening in, and continuing on as he physically is handing his ear off to other people.
Okay, yeah, people are listening to it like, I can't hear anything, but they're saying it into your ear, and you can. So Mordecai, we're going to come back over to you. And, man, this one table has been absolutely just, like, rowdy. And if you believe what the rumors are, somebody even comes by and is like, man, this person just had a shot that made his face melt off. And your host here kind of gives an amused smile. It seems that someone might have started the party a little early. I can't say that that's an effect of luciferase, but I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps you wouldn't feel your own organs beginning to drift away from you.
Certainly odd. I don't think I've ever heard of a drink that melts faces.
Quite. In fact, I'll have to investigate that. And there could be a market for such a thing. People are always chasing interesting experiences in life.
You never know.
I'm going to presume that the band has played. You know, you've had your interaction, you listened. That's how you made your impression on your host here. And in fact, word of this has already gone up to the Tiefling band here, and they just love the concept of a face melter. So that's probably what that song is going to be called, or that's what the part of the song is going to be called, where, you know, they were just like, playing so hard, and, you know, Jade suddenly looked like some sort of like 80s or early 90s album cover, like with eyeballs popping out and all kinds of weird stuff, and so congratulations, we've invented the face melter in Mesomasca.
Beautiful.
So he turns to you. Now, for the matter of business, I'll let you speak to either of my friends here, both of whom can offer you some sort of a deal, as well, that's what they're paid to do. Though I would have to ask, there's something about you. I can't quite place my finger on it, but there's something.
Besides the chicken on my face.
I understand that. I haven't seen it before, but I understand what could cause such a thing. No, it's something more, something deeper. I'm not quite sure what it is. Tell me, what is special about you? Why do I feel as I do?
Well, I may come off as odd because I am circus folk.
Perhaps.
You used to get a lot of oddities in the circus.
It's something in the way that you carry yourself. I don't understand it. But I enjoy it. I am a person who seeks new experiences and new pleasures, who tries to seek out the mysteries of life. And you are a mysterious person indeed. Well, before I get up and leave for the evening, as I've had my fill of entertainment, and I leave you with these two gentlemen, is there anything else that I can help you with? To say, to inform you, or fill your mind?
Depends what you have to offer.
Oh my, well. I can offer a variety of pieces of information, a variety of, perhaps methods of self-defense, should a unique person like you find yourself being chased after by not-so-polite fans or authority figures. You do seem like a person who can flaunt authority. I know much, I have much, and that which I do not know and that which I do not have, I can acquire. But if we're already doing business, then let's do business before I leave.
What kind of forms of protection are we talking about?
Oh, my friend, these are dangerous times in which we live. I perhaps can offer you weapons of certain qualities. I understand that there are, he leans over, vampires around, and there are also others. Fae, awakening throughout the lands. And and as he says this, he produces a small bar of silver and a small bar of iron that he places on the table. And, well, there could even be worse or more. And there are all kinds of other magical weapons and wards that might be able to help you if you do intend on traveling. I don't wish to play on your fears, but if you have them, allow me to address them.
I am interested.
Then make your choice and let me know what I must obtain for you.
And he set a silver and iron on the table?
Yeah.
I don't know what. Can I make an insight check to see what exactly he means by that? Because I'm personally not understanding.
Sure.
Oof. Nope.
He's probably indicating that he has different materials, different items made of different materials, that he's indicating might be effective against the monsters across the lands.
Okay.
Also, as you're having this conversation, a waiter comes over, and he has a bit of an odd look on his face, but he says, "This is courtesy of the table over there," and sets down a platter that has an ear on it.
I just look at it, and then go back to the friend I'm talking to.
He, picks it up. Well, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this, but I'm open to new experiences.
Interesting.
Perhaps it was one of the kitchen's newest concoctions.
Maybe. But, as far as the weapons go, or the materials here, I tend to be one who enjoys a little bit of finesse when it comes to protecting myself.
Oh. Well. Finesse with perhaps a bit of a panache, a bit of a delivery with it as
Yes.
well. It so happens that I can provide you with such a weapon. In fact, not only does it have a bit of finesse, it has an extra special bit of delivery to it. And he reaches down, he fiddles with something, kind of scoots around, and in front of you, he sets a very familiar looking dagger. It has a bit of like a hollow tip at the end, and kind of a little rack system in the handle. And you see, with a dagger like this, you are able to pack a little bit of an extra punch if you were to load the handle with a substance of your choice. Impressive, isn't it?
Very.
It's a new invention that we've come up with.
Do they get around often?
No. No, these are offered to special customers. They've only been available for a short time, but from what we understand, times are only going to get more desperate.
Such is the way of things.
I can sell this to you for 10 gold.
10 gold?
Yes. I don't have anything to put inside of it. At least, not as this comes. But I could provide all manner of substances, should you desire those as well.
My purse tends to be a little light these days. I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
Are you seeking work?
Depends.
No,
I'm
of
a
course,
bit
it
of a
always
traveler.
depends.
I'm a bit of a traveler. Might be leaving town fairly soon.
If you determine that you are able to linger around for a couple weeks, then I like you. Maybe I can do something for you, and make sure that you have some money to line your pockets.
Sadly, a couple of weeks is not in the books for me.
Oh. So, just a one-time gig is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Are you above acquiring things that don't belong to you?
The Arms-dealer offers a jar of the same substance the bartender gave to you the a short
have
while
my
ago as an
standards.
unconventional option for arming the digger.
Anyone who has a lighter purse than me.
Ooh, pardon me. Real quick, the arms dealer offers a jar of the same substance the bartender gave to Jada a short while ago as an unconventional option for arming the dagger. So what we'll do is the fickle god says that, or at least acting through your arms dealer here, tells you that you can always apply something more mundane, such as the extract of and he'll name a very hot pepper that you would recognize as a tiefling as well. Okay, I mean, just him mentioning this name just sort of almost makes your mouth salivate. It is like a preventative measure. And he tells you that usually something more solid would work, but you can always coat the blade, and especially with certain substances, it causes quite an irritation. Might even irritate the site enough to bleed out a bit. You know, should you need to make sure you leave a mark. Though I will say, what I might ask you to do might not impugn your morals too greatly. You see, there is a family in town. They're called the Flower Fields. You've probably at least heard of them. Their name is on all kinds of buildings and other. And, well, they have a rather large garden. I am seeking some seeds from that garden. And if you happen to be strolling through the garden, and if a couple of those seeds happen to fall into your pocket, and you just happen to deliver them to me, then perhaps I can fill your pocket with something else. A rich family like that won't be missing a couple seeds now, will they?
How long is this offer on the table?
The offer will remain on the table indefinitely. As I see there is a need for this certain brand of flower. And he'll go on to describe it to you.
It's a corpus creeper seed, huh?
Yes, it is.
Then I'll come back to that offer. But about the experience.
Yes. Well, then I will take my leave and let you work that out with my boys here. Thank you for your time and your professionalism.
And what is your name, friend?
Oh, well. You can just say I'm the head chef of this place.
Do you go by any name? If I were to ask you by name.
Just ask for the head chef. That would make sure that whatever communication or materials you bring here will go to the right place.
Fair enough.
And he's going to get up and leave. As he does so, he makes sure to... he gets behind his two associates who are still flanking you in the chairs, kind of claps them each on the shoulder, gives them a bit of a squeeze. They both just sort of nod and give a bye, and the head chef walks off, leaving you with them. And you now have two people who are interested in your business. So an open question to you is, how potent of a dose are you seeking, and for how long would you like it to last? The more potent and or the greater duration, the more expensive it'll be.
I would coyly let them know a short duration. And
Okay.
maybe one of lower potency and one of higher potency, if they can give me two.
Okay. So you're clandestinely, indicating this and that there's public around, and there's probably not like a policeman sitting next to you in a dive like this, but Luciferase is there's a stigma to it because it does affect and or afflict, depending on your point of view, tieflings. And people can burn out on this, just like they can burn out on, we as humans burn out on various substances ourselves in the real world. So there is a bit of a social stigma to it, and there's probably a law in the book saying you shouldn't sell it, especially not in a good, upstanding town like Flowerfield. I mean, we're in the country, and country folk don't do that. For 2 short-term doses, one of just it's more of an enhancement, and another one is more of a red liner. We'll say that the low dose will cost a gold,
Okay.
and the red liner will cost 3 gold.
All right. 4 gold in total. And so I just kind of, give them the 4 gold.
Okay. You have 2 doses, each of which is bearing some kind of an obvious... It's not written, but it's sort of like the blue paper is the low dose, the red paper is the high dose kind of a thing.
Right.
And your dosage is contained inside in a discreet but explained in an obvious fashion for you to be able to take it as you would wish to take it.
All right, perfect.
We come back over to our rowdy table. By the way, everyone was pointing, saying, that dude just ate your ear. As he walks by, he kind of gives a kind of gurgle, and kind of... And as the duration of your clairvoyance spell comes to an end, your ear just sort of like remanifests on the side of your head. But it is kind of covered in stomach juices.
Yes, I imagine so. And it's at this point, Rolf has... Oh. It's at this point, I'm pretty sure when Rolf heard that, Rolf's like, somebody hit my ear, and starts hunting down the guy, right, walking by. And I'm getting the impression, like, much like more modern bars, because we have indoor plumbing and all that available here, I would expect mirrors and what have you. And Rolf, this tiefling, starts to walk by and catches a glimpse of himself.
Sure.
And when he does so, he starts to kind of like, what the hell? What the hell? And he starts to kind of lean in, and eventually, like, head pressed against the glass. And the demeanor changes. He's mumbling under his breath, like, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. Get out. And he starts mumbling to himself, and this guttural this deep speech, as he starts to. There's a slight look of panic in his eyes as he starts to raise his head back and very forcefully, almost a complete shutdown, forces his face into the mirror, and as the mirror shatters or cracks, probably more appropriate, splits, breaking his face or his vision of his own face, where he starts to have this clear cut of the front of his eye. You can see it coming down, and it's almost like that little trickle of red starts to kind of like melt away the red of his own skin, it becoming pale as he starts to run, hell bent to end up bailing out of the bar, like as a sudden realization I'm late for something or something's going on, and unless somebody gets in the way, Rolf is running straight out of the bar, like almost like complete panic has overtaken.
Okay, I would like you to make another Constitution save, as you're going into a panic and you've been binge drinking, and a lot of things are happening here. Your magic is okay, so that's a 9. So speaking of face melting, now things have taken a bit of a serious turn. It's not just a cheeky, your eyeball or your ear fell off. I guess if that's a casual thing to have happen. But you see yourself, your burn or whatever, like as you're describing this, the self beneath yourself starting to emerge, like you are melting. You're going to vomit at some point in time, and just as you strain and the pressure, the magic itself is just like dripping away from you. So almost like you're purging the alcohol and the hot sauce and everything that that's inside of you, but also this magical cover is starting to purge away, and so this as you do so, like one of your horns just sort of like partially dissolves away, and is even just sort of like hanging, like almost like on a loose hinge off of your forehead, and as you are reverting and you're rejecting you've hit this limit now mentally and physically of carousing and of pretending, and it is time to have the pendulum swing back, and you're running out, and you are definitely you're not looking so hot as you do so, and like you have some vomit dripping from you. I'm not going to get too descriptive with that, but like a part of your cheek falls and like splatters on the floor, but it's a part of a magical disguise, so it just sort of like it does evaporate away. But your face is melting, as is other aspects of you.
And when this happens, as I imagine, only not even making it a block by this point, as Jade is stumbling, she is not coherent at all as she tries to end up holding herself against a wall, crashes through a barrel, overturning it and falling upon it. And she starts to break. She realizes what she has done, this horrible sin that she has done. To anybody who's watching, this is what's going on here, and she ends up speaking. Let him down. I let him down. He's hurt. He's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt. He's gonna gotta find the others. Where's the others? Gotta find Mordecai. He's at the Tipsy Lounge. He has to be. He's got to be there. Completely unaware that he was just in the same tavern.
Yeah.
As she is a freaking mess heading towards there. She's not even wiping the sick off her. She's just dripping like this perpetual ooze as she starts to end up rushing, stumbling over herself as she continues. Maybe a familiar bum that she just passes by who shrieks in terror as the last time he was being threatened to be put on one of her victims' lists as she continues to end up going through. And there is screaming into the night.
Okay.
Long, horrible screams.
So you're screaming, shuddering, shaking, you're melting. In fact, we'll even say as you're running out of this place, you catch your tiefling tail in the door and it just sort of falls off like a lizard's tail and then just sort of melts and evaporates away. I mean, Mordecai, you would have seen that someone just ran out of the bathroom. And of course the bar's that person had way too much. So that they're passing it off as just a drunkard. You see this person go running out, their tail falls off and it sort of flops on the floor like a lizard tail for a little bit. And then just kind of poo. Jade, you are, so you run to a back alley. It's kind of dark out of the way. It's quieter. There's no one around. It's a popular place for folks who are recovering in various forms from an intense experience at a bar. And as you're having these shakes, and as you're having this reconciliation, a very familiar figure comes up in the darkness, and you feel a very strong 4-fingered hand just sort of clench you on the shoulder and give you some gentle shakes. And rolls you on your side and pats you on the back, and the voice of DJ the Minotaur rumbles in the dark alleyway. What are you doing? What happened to you?
Horrible sin. I let they'll slip away. I let they'll slip away. And I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose. That's what I did. And I need to. The others have to know. The others have to know. I can't look at myself anymore. I did it.
Get you cleaned up. You are having a bad time.
Yeah. That's exactly what is happening. I did it.
No, none of that. And he reaches and he grasps your wrist as he picks you up and he's starting to carry you. None of that. We're going to get you cleaned.
I could have killed him. I could have killed
him. I don't know what you'll say, but if you say could have, it means that you did not. And if you did not kill, then you are not bad. In fact, I heard the music you make. Why don't we get you clean, and you can make music and not regrets?
Oh, DJ, my large friend, you No one understands. No one understands it. It's because they can't tell them. I can't tell them what they're going to need to do. I can't let them know what was supposed to happen. I changed it, DJ. I changed it. I stole his life.
If you
I
can't
stole it.
say, then you sing. If you have trouble with words, I have trouble with words. But people like my music. I'm sorry, my music. Why don't you play then? And you can say what is inside with your own music. He's carrying you off, by the way, and you're going off to a location. Like, this big minotaur is like cradling you, and he's still holding your wrist.
I don't have a choice in the matter. I'm not even gonna roll against it, no matter how swole Jay might be. Like, he's carrying her like a swaddled child.
So Mordecai, I mean, you were not outside for this, but what are you doing? I mean, so you have your 2 doses. You just saw someone run out and like get their tail lost in the door, but the tail's not there anymore. And there's all sorts of carousing and singing, and in fact, we'll say that the band that's been packing up looks like they're leaving as well, and they're walking past you here.
Well, if my drink's finished, then
Yes.
my business here is done.
Okay.
And I'll leave.
Okay. All right. So you're passing out. Not passing out. You're leaving. You're passing through. One of the band members stops you. It was the person who's playing the drums, and says, "Hey, I noticed you. You were really getting into our music, and I could tell by where you're sitting that you're a bit of a VIP yourself."
Of sorts.
Well, I wanted to say thank you. Watching you get into it, that made me want to perform even more.
All right. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Seeing you really get into it there, and especially in the presence of the head chef, well, it really made me want to perform even better. And thanks for the inspiration. So you have a member of a band who's coming up and thanking you. And I have to say, I like your style. It's different. It's not what I'm used to seeing out here.
Flower fields and Sinamphi. It's very modern.
Ah, you're from the old world then.
Yes. Dessert K to begin with.
Well, then it's even more of a pleasure to possibly get some exposure amongst others who are from a wider area than simply this corner of Mezamaska. And the other tieflings are like, "Hey, come on, we got to get going." Oh, right, I'm sorry. Well, we're going to be performing again tomorrow night. I'd love to have you here. In fact, maybe you could tell me more about where you're from.
Perhaps. Depends on if I'm still in town.
Huh. Well, I wish I could say that. We've been here for quite some time. But you know what? Big fish, small pond. And he's like, "Come on, we got to get going." I'm sorry. I got a wagon waiting for me.
No worries. Good luck.
He leaves, like, turns around. He dashes out. "Oh, I'm here. And the horses and kind of rear up a little bit, and you hear the wagon clip go off.
Okay. Well, then I leave.
Okay. You're going to head back to the Tumbled Wench then? To your penthouse suite?
Yes.
All right. I wish I could bring you back here with the interior, but you know, 'tis what it is. You return, Mordecai. Norlai and Celine are there. Celine's been. I don't know, Celine, if you're like super drunk, but you've definitely been. You know, you said you're drinking some alcohol, and
yeah.
Very happy to see you.
and Norlai.
Celine is-
Yeah, that's true. Herbert is very happy to see you.
Celine is basically Celine is very buzzed, and she's still pacing around, mumbling to herself under her breath about heresy and Ripple and what they're going to do about this entire mess.
Jack is just kind of hanging out in a visible state. And just like as you walk in and you see this, he looks over at you and he just sort of like, my cat's blocking me. Hey, come here. I'm gonna set you over here. And he just kind of goes, I don't know.
Fun night.
Celine kind of stops and turns to Mordecai, and she's like, yeah, you could say that.
You were mumbling. That's a fun night.
You could say that. There's a
It's
lot
sort of like
going
when
through my
you-
mind right now.
I don't know if it was that much hitting. I'm just guessing.
Mordecai, absolutely. Like it smells like food and alcohol and, you know, whatever. There's probably like various tobacco and hot peppers and just is a cacophony of smell.
I mean, I suppose. Weren't you going to try and commune with Weejas?
I need to figure out the right questions to ask, otherwise all of this is pointless.
Do you need a soundboard?
Sure, I think that'd be helpful. Very helpful. It's very obvious that she's quite buzzed right now. And she's walking around, it's like, at the risk of sounding a little bit like Jade, I've just had this voice in my head nattering at me over and over and over and over and over about everything to do with the Ripple. It doesn't sit well with me. If he's doing what I think he's doing,
Which is...
if he's experimenting with the plants and necromantic magic, we have a catastrophe just waiting to happen.
Jack pipes in. I wasn't the voice. I swear I wasn't the voice. It's all him. It's creeping me out even.
What
And
makes you
she-
think that he's experimenting with necromancy?
Yes.
Like, what makes you think that?
It's a simple thing, really. The main thing that pings me with this is he's want to have Tibba back.
Yeah, he's missing.
But not because he's missing. He doesn't want his nephew back. He wants the heir to the Flowerfield family back. And as far as we know, he's the key to something. Something to do with the vampires and the Fae. My thought is that he's doing these kinds of experiments to find the lock to which Tibber is the key. And if he does this, well,
Didn't
I
he say
can't
that
say
if he
what
had
I want.
Tiba back, they would have both? So assuming as much, he has the lock, quote unquote.
Exactly. Well, I mean, even if he has to look, that means we're even further behind.
Okay. To what end would he be trying to practice necromancy?
Vampires are by their very nature undead.
Yes.
Undead
Well aware.
creatures, lesser undead creatures, you know, ghouls, zombies, and the like.
Which I don't think I've run into.
Ghouls, skeletons, zombies, you know, that general ephemera of creature. Necromancy can control them. And if he's experimenting, he could be looking for a way to control vampires. Who would stand against someone who has control of an army of vampires?
You bring up a good point.
So I need to figure out the right. I need to figure out the right questions to ask my goddess. And furthermore, I also
Are most
need.
vampires like me and sentient?
Yes.
I mean, I've never run into another one. Except Tazray.
It's a very large caveat, but it is still singular.
Aside from the ones we fought and Tazray. But the ones we fought against seemed, I don't know, singularly driven.
Quite, and easier to control if you know, play the right cards and use the right spells. My worry with this is that Ripple is looking for something to control these things. And my further worry with that is, as a follower of Ouijas, he has not only the capability, but the resources to do so.
And you don't think that it's simply under threat of the Corpus Creeper daggers?
No, I don't think it's just under the threat of the Corpus Creeper daggers.
Because those are a pretty powerful, deterrent for somebody wanting to,
if
cross you.
But the thing is, if I'm right about this, what Ripple is doing is...
I mean, even somebody with holy magic would be able to put a stop to something like this.
Not as easy as you might think.
I mean, you're pretty powerful. I genuinely fear you.
You flatter me, Mordecai, truly. But...
She says with a drunken lisp as well.
Yeah. But my worry and my concern with this is that if he is doing what I think he's doing, that amounts to the largest form of heresy as far as the religion of Ouijas is concerned that has been seen on the face of Mesotopia for several hundred years. Things like this were outlawed for a reason.
For sure.
And, you know, I don't want to go all Divine Inquisitor or Ouijas or anything, but, or at least I'd rather not do that misguidedly. I want to make sure that if I do have to perform something like that, that I am absolutely correct. I don't want to go off half-cocked.
Right.
And, I mean... And she lets out, she lets out a a very tipsy sigh. You know, the kind of sigh where it's like she's trying to regain her breath and her bearings. It's just like, there's a lot. And I mean, not to mention, the alcohol kind of helps. Because, well, means I'm not thinking so much.
As in, your logic is not getting in the way.
Unfortunately, things like this are matters of the heart, not matters of the mind. That's the thing with faith.
Well,
and I mean, it also doesn't help that I have this second voice nethering in my head to do other more mundane things to particular people in this room at this very moment.
hey, says Jack, I really thought it was cool when you sneezed. I've never done that before.
I don't know what you're getting at.
Silly just kind of sighs, and she's like, "See, this is why I don't get drunk or tipsy or, you know, anywhere near close to this around people."
Maybe you should go to... No, we got shit to do tonight. Never mind.
No, we have shit to do tonight. I can't go to bed.
Wait, what are we doing?
Otherwise, I would already be there.
Well, with this, let's take like at least a 5-minute break or so we can get a snack or a drink, use the restroom, and we'll come back and we'll continue on. But I'd like to take at least a 5-minute break to get up and do things here. So for all of you out there, hey, get some chips and salsa, or crack open a Diet Coke or whatever. If you have your own cat or another a doggo or whatever, hey, give him some love. Give him a couple pets. We'll come back in about 5 minutes or so, and we'll continue playing. We do have our time limit coming up in about an hour, a little less than an hour, correct? Lethality?
Yep, 15 minutes.
All right. So 5-minute break, and we'll come back to it.
Yep. Sounds good.